Alrighty then, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a special interview with PainUser. Some of you guys might or might not know him. If you haven't, then this is PainUser right here. He is here in real life, and you guys actually probably saw him in the Bay Area StarCraft LAN video. He's extremely tall, so I asked him to sit for this interview so he doesn't look too intimidating. We have a couple questions that, well, I actually have a couple questions that I wanted to ask him for this interview, so hang tight, guys, and we're going to go through this. And of course, PainUser, one of the top Terran players right now on StarCraft 2. So could you introduce yourself to the YouTube community a little bit?
Sure. What's up, guys? I'm Taylor Parsons, aka PainUser. I'm a StarCraft 2 player, and I've been playing the beta since release, and I've stuck with Terran the whole time, against my better judgment.
Yeah, you don't feel like Terran is where it's at right now?
Yeah, if there was any kind of serious money in the beta, I would probably play Protoss. If there's real serious money.
You're breaking Terran's hearts everywhere.
I know, and I don't want to betray any of the Terran fans or any of my fans, so I'm probably going to stick with Terran, like, overall.
Let's cross our fingers and hope Terran gets
thick and thin.
Yeah. Alright, so, well, that leads on to our next question. How do you feel about the balanced state of StarCraft 2 beta right now and the races?
I think the balanced state has come a long way since the beginning of the beta. They've made a lot of really good changes that I felt were necessary. Even some of the nerfs to Terran, I'm okay with the siege tank nerf. As far as the racial balance, I feel like right now I'm really comfortable with TVZ. I feel like I can handily defeat most good Zerg players, but most Zerg players who stick with like the standard speedling to Muta opening into Hydra, it's pretty predictable and you can deal with it really well as Terran.
So that's why I haven't been beating you yet then.
Although you've been using roaches lately, and
a little bit
getting
more.
A lot better too.
Oh, I hate roaches.
I'm kind of worried. I feel that wind creeping up.
It's coming soon to a neighborhood near you, like that 6 speedling rush.
The 6 pull yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, you almost...
Yeah, guys, I 6 pulled Taylor yesterday. Almost had him. Almost. Well, I know you have a lot of strong convictions about Terran versus Protoss, so maybe you want to elaborate a little bit on that.
I just feel like it's a really hard matchup for Terran to win right now. You have to play extremely solid, like real tight play, because there's so many different Protoss openings that are extremely effective against Terran. Like any kind of straight DT opening, 4-gate rush, 3-gate robo, Void Raise,
yeah.
Proxy Void Raise, Proxy robo.
A lot of that also stems from the fact that besides Protoss can go with all these unique builds, it's hard to scout them, and
well, it's very difficult because the early stalker essentially is the first stalker is gonna push any kind of Marines you have at the Xel'Naga towers or any kind of SCV that you have in position on the map. If it's a really good player, he'll check his base with the stalker and kill any kind of SCV that you might have stored away to scout him later and figure out which key buildings he's making, because there's a window. It's like when you scout the Protoss base with your initial SCV, you see that gateway and you see that Cybo core, and that's all good and fun. You know he's doing standard, and then what most Protosses do is they're going to wait until they're going to chrono boost that first stalker out, and then they're going to wait, and they're going to check their whole base, and they're going to check the towers. They're going to try and deny you any kind of scouting information, and that's when they drop those Stargates, or maybe the Robo, or maybe 3 more gateways.
And there's no way to tell unless you want to burn the comsat.
Unless you want to burn the comsat. But
Protoss can hide their tech. They can use pylons and hide it anywhere they want.
They can build anywhere on the map, and a good Protoss player, sometimes they'll even hide their tech in another main, and you'll miss it with the scan. And that's a big investment. A scan is, 370 resources that you're burning on a scan. That's an extra command center. You could use that to expand. You could use that to build more Marines, add a rack, so it's a big investment on your part, and it's not necessarily going to pay off.
Bottom line, maybe Protoss needs some nerfing in the versus Terran department, or something needs to happen a little bit.
Yeah, maybe not nerfing, but some kind of change to the whole pylon warp gate system. The ability to warp units anywhere on the map, should you have a pylon there, is really powerful, and it creates a lot of strange dynamics in the matchup. There's things you can do. Terrans have been playing around with like the 1-racks FE into mass marine builds. They've been playing with a lot of builds. The 1-1-1 opening with Rax Factory, Starport, getting an early Raven out. But largely there are still a ton of Protoss builds that beat both of those builds, and those are really the only two viable builds versus Protoss right now. So what I would like to see is the Nexus having some sort of power grid where pylons can only be built within a certain area of the Nexus. I don't know. It's just it's a very tough matchup.
All right, cool. So let's go ahead and move into a little bit more personal questions real quick, and I think we'll combine these two. How do you feel you're doing in the competitive scene right now for StarCraft 2? StarCraft 2, by the way, guys, has a huge competitive scene. A lot of players already playing. As you guys all know, it is currently the beta, which actually just went down like 10 minutes ago, which kind of sucks. Dang it, right? But they do have a lot of competition going on right now, and of course, PainUser has been playing in a lot of those tournaments, a lot of competitions. You had a pretty convincing win over Cthon Luck, and maybe you could talk about that, as well as how you're doing in the competitive scene.
Oh, during the IC Cup extravaganza yesterday?
Yeah.
I was talking to Joseki, who's a teammate of his, who said that he hadn't been playing much at all recently, and we were also playing on two of the newer maps. We played on Sin Chipungryung, I think, and Fighting Spirit, which are two of the
old Brood War remix.
Brood War maps that have been converted to StarCraft 2. Right. And he said that he hadn't really played either of those maps, but it was TVT, it was a mirror matchup, and I had recently been using the old Tank Viking build almost exclusively in my TVTs, but I got smashed a few times in Diamond on the ladder during this last reset by this early Thor Marauder pressure, and I opted to use that build in a couple games, and it worked out really well for me. I didn't use it in the second game, I used it in the first game, and he actually went for the exact same build, but I went for a Thor ship, and he opted to walk his Thor down towards my base, so my Thor got into his base really early before, because Thor's walk obviously extremely slow, and if you pick them up in a medevac and fly them to the enemy base, you're going to get there a lot faster. And I was able to do terrible damage in his main base.
Careful, that could be copyrighted. I would have been sued now. Yeah. Well, you did. You beat Cthon Luck very convincingly. It was quite epic.
I was real happy with those games, for sure. I was actually stepping in for my teammate Moo when he had recently moved and his internet wasn't up yet. So they asked me if I wanted to play Terran vs. Cthon Luck, and I was like, oh, great. Yeah, I really want to do that. I hadn't warmed up either. I hadn't played a single game that day, but I was like, hey, I might as well give it a shot. It's the last day before beta ends. I gave it my all, and I did pretty well.
With that, let's go ahead and move into questions more about BattleNet 2.0, and I know this is a big topic of controversy, so we'll try to keep it short a little bit, but maybe you could elaborate a little bit about how you feel.
Not a huge fan. I've heard from some people that the guy who developed the interface for Xbox Live was contracted to develop the interface for BNet 2.0, and it feels very console-ish to me. There's a lot of really graphically intense pop-up windows.
It does, because before before on BattleNet 1.0, there's chat rooms and stuff like that. You can talk more like a computer interface. But this one, no chat rooms. A lot of it's very graphical, like Xbox Live. You've got these achievements and everything that are big graphic pictures. To be honest, I looked at the achievements page and I got confused. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, it seems like it really caters to people who would be clueless about PC gaming, and I feel like anybody that's going to be playing StarCraft 2 is going to have a history in PC gaming. They're going to know what's up. I mean, and they're going to have experienced the old BattleNet systems, which were great. The Brood War system was great. The Warcraft 3 BattleNet system was a little bit slow at times. You click icons and the screen raises and drops, and it has those chains on both sides.
Yeah,
it was kind of lame, but it worked. And BNet 2.0 has largely not worked, and every time they patch it, it's just like a